My name is Geraldo Bloisi.
In plain English, look inside the car.
Correct.
Okay. And that would include the passenger side,
Correct.
the driver's side,
Correct.
the back seat,
Correct.
and the trunk.
Correct.
Now, I heard you testify earlier that you, upon opening the door of the car, you smelled decomposition.
That is correct.
And you specifically used the word decomposition because you don't know if it's human or non-human, correct?
Correct. What I used was decomposition.
Okay. And that just basically means something is decomposing.
Yes.
Okay. And that could be animals.
Yes.
That could be meats.
Yes.
And that can also be human.
Yes.
Now, one of the common things that you see when you see a decomposing body are maggots.
Yes.
Depending on the stage of decomposition, you would see anywhere from thousands of maggots to even hundreds of thousands of maggots, would you not?
Yes.
So you were not informed that Cindy Anthony had put those air fresheners in there?
No.
You were not informed that she sprayed the entire car with Febreze?
No.
Tell the jury what the presumptive test told you.
When I performed the presumptive test on those specific areas that I observed, what appears to be a blood, negative results.
Mr. Bloise, the defense went and inspected the car.
Yes.
And during the defense inspection, that consisted of the trunk liner.
Correct.
And while inspecting the trunk liner, additional hairs were found.
That is correct.
And you collected these hairs.
Correct.
And you submitted them as evidence.
Correct.
And there was also, on the trunk liner, certain animal hairs that were pointed out as well.
I don't have any recollection about the animal hairs on the trunk.
Did you not take notes, sir?
Yes, I did.
Do you have those notes with you?
No, I destroyed the notes.
Mike Vincent, Vincent.
The samples that you were talking about with the air this is the very first time you've ever taken air samples, correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
In fact, you have no training whatsoever in the collection or preservation of air samples.
This is the first time I ever heard it being done. That's correct.
And you had never heard of this ever being done in any cases prior to this one.
That's correct.
And this, for you, was somewhat of an experiment.
It was new. I wouldn't call it an experiment.
Being a human being that has trash and has dealt with trash all your life, I'm sure you've thrown it out a few times, right?
Correct.
The odor would be significantly different if you had a wet bag of trash versus trash that was individually taken out and put in a dry room.
If the trash was wet and they placed it in a dry room to dry, yes, the smell would be different from the time it was wet and then the time when it was dry, if it was wet.
When you took the air sample of the garbage on August 29th, the trash was dry.
That's possible.
Michael Rickenbach, Rickenbach.
How are you employed?
I work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
In what capacity?
I am a forensic chemist examiner within the laboratory division of the FBI.
What was the result of your examination of that item?
That residues of chloroform were identified on that specimen.
Now, you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about residues of chloroform found on the Q22 portion. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell them what you mean by residues of chloroform?
Chloroform is usually found in a liquid state. And the items of evidence that I got are obviously, they're solid material. And so there was no liquid on those items. But when subjected to very sensitive techniques, the chloroform that was identified in those items can be driven off and detected by the instrument. And therefore, since it's not a liquid, it's really in very, very small amounts. It's residues of chloroform on these materials.
Okay. So they were found in very, very small amounts.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you can find chloroform in any number of household items, correct?
It has been detected in household cleaning agents and other items, yes.
Including detergents?
That is correct.
Have you any knowledge in other items other than cleaning items that chloroform could be found in? From my personal experience, usually it's a cleaning product that I have found chloroform in. But I mean, there may be other items that have chloroform that I haven't personally analyzed. And those would be found in very, very low amounts, such as what you found in this case.
The items that were consistent with cleaning products that I've detected chloroform were in very small amounts, similar to these items, yes.
Okay.
Based on the response of a known amount of chloroform that I analyzed, the chloroform that came out of the specimens was significantly less than the amount that I knew I had put into the instrument.
Okay. And it wasn't overwhelming amount of chloroform, was it?
On the specimens?
Yes.
It was significantly less than not the internal standard, the positive control that I analyzed.
And it wasn't the most chloroform you'd ever seen in 20 years, was it?
It was not the most chloroform I've seen in 20 years, no.
Doctor, you testified that doing an estimate like this and trying to determine the quantity of chloroform is not appropriate in forensic science. Is that correct?
Yes, to give a formal amount of a compound, doing it this way is not the correct way to do it.
And that's because you don't want to attempt to give anything that would mislead a jury.
Objection. Counsel's commentary, may we approach?
No, overruled. You can answer the question if you can.
No, I would not want to give an impression of amounts, specific amounts within these samples, because it's not appropriate to even give specific amounts based on the techniques that I used.
Because as a scientist, you want to be precise.
Yes, that's true.
Especially when testifying in a court of law.
Yes.
Doctor, I just want to conclude with these levels of, residue levels of chloroform that were found and tested are equal to what you might find in a common cleaning product, is it not, sir?
Yes, from my experience, those levels have been detected in substances that have been used for cleaning products, yes.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Maureen Bottrell.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury and tell them what your occupation is?
I am a geologist forensic examiner with the FBI laboratory in the Trace Evidence Unit.
Ma'am, you're employed by the FBI to look for evidence, are you not?
I'm employed by the FBI as a geologist forensic examiner, yes.
And the purpose of you receiving all of these items was to look for evidence, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you did not find any meaningful to connect Casey Anthony to Suburban Drive?
That's correct, I didn't.
Michael Sigman, Sigman.
Dr. Sigman, how are you employed, sir?
I am a faculty member at the University of Central Florida.
What is your highest level of formal education, sir?
I have a PhD in chemistry.
All of those samples, was the primary finding that of gasoline?
The principal chromatographic profile resulting from the analysis of those samples could be attributed to gasoline.
The main thing that was there was gasoline.
The predominant chromatographic profile was associated with or identified as gasoline.